Welcome to the Kendall Report. This is a huge week that we're coming into. We have the FOMC meeting, we have earnings, we have a lot of significant economic reports coming out. I hope you're ready for a crazy week, and I do expect to see the markets continuing in the upward mode. I'll go through a lot of details here in a few minutes in the technicals. But as we look back on last week, the S&P was down 0.1 for the week, NASDAQ down 0.3, Russell up 0.4. As we know, the markets just were flipping back and forth in that trading range. It looks now that they're ready to go much higher, and I'll cover this in a few minutes. We know last week it was all about the tax proposals of increasing up to like 43.6%. I don't think that's going to happen. They will definitely get an increase, but I think markets overreacted to that, and I think that will be in the background since it was simply a proposal. And as I discussed in Friday's video, not only is the taxes a proposal, even the infrastructure bill is just nothing more than a proposal. Nothing is real right now. So this reminds us, if we go back to last fall when there was a report that there was going to be a stimulus vote, but it never happened. Remember that? It was all the way into February by the time things really happened. Expect to see more of this from our government. Just a quick comment about the Fed. My expectations are for them not to change their asset purchases. I believe they're going to continue to disavow the inflation that is present and say it's transitory, which means it's temporary. I don't think that's the case. I think we're going to see this thing go much further than we think, and I don't see that being a negative for a while yet, and I'll talk about that probably more on Wednesday's live stream. As we look at this week from an economic viewpoint, we have durable goods coming out expected to be up 2.3% on Monday. Tuesday, we have consumer confidence. There's some other reports, but this is the big one, expected a 115 reading. On Wednesday, the FOMC will be on a live stream then. On Thursday, we have GDP expected to show a 6.2% increase. Of course, we have initial claims that are expected to show 535,000 new filings, and continuing claims came in at 3.67 last week. I keep harping on this number, but I don't see this being material until we get below the 3.2 million level. On Friday, we got PCE prices, we got personal spending, that's expected to show a 21.9% increase. And then we have Chicago PMI coming out at 6.3. The other thing I want to talk about is all the earnings are coming out, and there's major ones that are coming out. We're looking at Monday, we have Tesla, that's the big one, but there's plenty of others. There's only 86 on Monday. Tuesday, we have Microsoft, we have Google, Visa. There's a list of them. These are big numbers coming out on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Apple, Facebook, Boeing. There's a ton of them. It's actually going to be a crazy week from an earnings standpoint. On Thursday, we have Amazon, MasterCard, Caterpillar, plenty of big names. The earnings reports this week are going to be huge, and I think they're going to set the tone for the balance of this second quarter as we move in and finish this week, as this is the final week of April. And as we shut the month of April down, I think the tone is going to be set by most of these earnings, because these are the big players that are coming out right now. The total for the week is 883 earnings reports coming out. As you know, I cover our database every night, and the weekly remained very solid at 75.6% bullish. That was my expectation. We would see no material change there. The big change, which I'll go through details here in a minute, the daily received 2,897 new buy signals, 125 sells. So the ratios were beyond bullish. We're well over 56%. I'll cover all the details in a minute, but this is a major event and tells us we're going to get a lot of traction from here. As we complete the month of April, I expect it to go out with a big boom. I expect plenty of volatility. My general belief is that we'll see higher prices. So let's go ahead and take a look at the charts and see how this week is set up. As I review the WaveTech database, we did see, as I mentioned, 2,897 buy signals versus 125 sell signals on the daily models, which have pushed the bullish percent up to 56.05. We're currently at 76% on the intermediates. there was very little buying or selling. There was actually a slight bias to the sell side on the weeklies, but there were 250 sells versus about 95 buys, so it was very moderate. The overall database on the dailies now have 9,204 symbols that are bullish or therefore are in uptrends. We're likely to see the rally that we're in start to expand to the upside and start to get some serious momentum as we move above the 4,200 level. As I review the S&P futures, we're up 2 handles overnight. It's a very quiet session, 55,777. This video is being done a little late tonight, right at the London Open, so there's not a lot of activity at the moment. We are seeing the PPMs continue to be in a bullish mode, but as I look at the PPMs, we'll see that the PPM1 is stabilized at a plus 0.12, PPM2 is at a plus 0.24, and PPM3 plus 1.78. And what this suggests is that we're in this moderate uptrend, but I do expect to see this start to accelerate. As we look at the market grid for today on the futures, the likelihood is for a minimum for today would be an S1, R2, 4158 to 4200 even. It is possible if we did take out the 4158 level, then we could see an R1, S2 level. The pattern suggests that we're likely to see an S1, R2. As we look at the weekly chart on the futures, we continue to see the volatility narrow here. The R1 number is 4192, R2 4214, S1 4151, so a minimum of an S1 R2 on a weekly basis that would push us above the 4200 level. The penetration of the 4214 level would suggest an R3 weekly. The momentum that is here is still very solid. We have PPM1 up 0.71, PPM2 0.61, and PPM3 0.69. As we review the SPX, it was very close to getting an RTX sell signal on Friday, as the high was 4194, RTX was 4183. We closed at 4180s. As I discussed on Friday's video, I did expect to see the market grid turn up. As we look at the market grid for Monday, the S1 number 4167, R2 4206. As I've indicated in the futures review, it's likely that we're going to challenge the 4200 level. If not today, we'll certainly do it by Tuesday's close, as long as we remain above the S1 number on a closing basis. As we look at the weekly chart on the SPX, the market grid suggests an S1 is 4160, R2 4221, and this would be my expectation is S1, R2, but as always, the key pivots on a weekly basis will be 4199.63, basically 4200, S1 4160. So if we did penetrate that, we'd back up to around 4138. I do expect to see plenty of volatility, and it looks to me that we should see mostly upside volatility for this week. Next market I'll cover is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ is up just about 3 handles. It's trading positive just above the 13,929 level. As we look at the market grid for today, R1 is 13,983. We've traded just about to an R1. S1, 13,870, the low 13,905. I would expect the same as in the S&P futures and S1, R2. This will put us back above that 14,000 handle again, 14,046. As we look at the PPMs, PPM2 is at a plus 0.33. This suggests the underlying trend is still very solid. We can look at the 10-period moving average, and we've been closing above and below it every day. We're back above it. If we remain above it for 2 sessions in a row, we should start to move up toward the upper end of this grid, which would put us around the 14,100, 14,150 level in rounding numbers off. As we look at the weekly chart, R1 14,022, R2, 14,130. Very similar numbers to the upper end of the range of the dailies at the moment. S1, 13,831. So look at an S1, R2, possibility of getting up to R3 on a weekly basis. The volatility range has narrowed substantially, which suggests that we're going to have a very tight range this week. But with all of the major stocks coming out, we may be able to blow through the top of this RXD 14,332. So the key support, 13,831, and then the extreme support will be that 10-period moving average, which is below the STX number, which is way down at 13,334, which is not in play. The final market I'll cover tonight is gold. Gold is continuing to hover just above its 10-period moving average. It is the ppm1 is up at a 0.25, ppm2 plus 0.13, ppm3 is now flat but turning up. So we're starting to see some acceleration in this trend. This is going to be an interesting week because I believe we're going to challenge the 1800 level and possibility of getting above 1800. The first goal would be 1810 to 1830. So let's look at the weekly chart and the market grid on the weekly, as that will give us the best guidance for what's likely to happen here. We have two numbers that we're going to be watching. 1800 is the 21-period moving average, 1799.9. And the market grid, you can see R2 is 1800, then R3 1812. So that's where we're likely to see substantial resistance up at those levels. We're currently trading fairly close to an S1 weekly, 1767. So my expectation is an S1 R2 for the week. This will complete the video for tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Hey folks, if you enjoyed this content, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button and the notification bell so you'll know when I do these videos.